What is going down, YouTube family? It is your boy Zary, and before we get into the video, one thing I want to tell you is, if you are just starting this game and you are under level 15, make sure you're using my promo code. Down in the description of my video is a link if you're just finding this channel for the first time. Click that link to download Dragon Champions on iOS or Android. Once you do that, click the cog setting, wrong way, right there above me. Click that cog setting. Inside the cog setting, you are going to see the use promo code. Make sure you're clicking on that. When you're in the promo code, type in XMG gift. Hit the OK button and get $10 worth of free stuff. So with that being said, my YouTube family, enjoy the free stuff. Help support the channel. I love y'all. Enjoy the video. What is going on, my YouTube family? It is your boy Zary, and we are here for a Dragon Champions video. We're going to go over the worst to first, so we're going to get into that. But quickly, a couple things I wanted to mention. One, I know I'm wearing the wrong color shirt, so if it fades away, I'm sorry. But secondly, the video behind me is actually posted by Dragon Champions. I'm going to link their YouTube page down below. Really well put together video. Really good way to present new characters to the player base. And it's got lizard breath and the flesh in there, so that is really, really cool as well. So I wanted to put that up there behind me, and make sure you're going down there, clicking that, subscribing to that channel as well, because hopefully they're going to put out more and more of these videos. So yeah, pretty cool. Second thing is, this is Wednesday night, so Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm going to take the winner of the poll. I got 36 votes already, so if you really want to see me redo the noob series, make sure you're going over there for the first edition of, like, kind of revamped. Centurion and Cab and Bab are tied at 33%, so get over there, cast your vote on my community page, and we can go from there. So we're back over here into the test server. Little Baddie is where we left off at number 51, so we are doing 50 through 41 in this video, and as you can see, I'm only gear 12 now. I've been testing, getting stuff ready for the revamped noob series, as well as testing out the new characters. So pretty cool stuff. More to come on that, but let's jump into number 50. Number 50 is Kalui, however you say it. But I've grown to like her so much. I can't wait to get her on my free-to-play, wherever they put her, because she makes the pandas with a patriarchy, even under a Kinley lead, just so much better. But she actually has some things that you can use for her moving forward, right? If you don't know because you haven't really used her, her passive is really good. She gains 25 increased magic damage and an additional 10% for each living panda. Every time an ally loses health. Now, not panda. Every time an ally loses health, she gains 20% turn meter at T7. If an allied panda loses more than 20% of their max health, she restores an additional 20%. So a lot of times with passive abilities, you're seeing, oh, they take out the faction, you get nothing. She's getting magic damage, more for pandas. Then she's getting, anytime they take damage, every time an ally loses health, she gains 20% of her turn meter. Constantly going, really good. It allows you to move away from speed. You can focus on damage to really, like, amp up her healing. So pretty cool, really cool passive. Spirit of Beiyi removes heal block from all allied pandas. Now, if you're not running in with pandas, that kind of sucks, but heals all allies for 300% of magic damage. And additionally, of 25% of the target's maximum health. This is why she's beautiful under a Kinley leadership, because Kinley's leadership is giving max health on top of that. So she's only healing for more, but she can be used outside of that, because full health allies gain a damage increase for 2 turns instead. Awesome. Restores 1 turn of Spirit of Zainayouch and Ember. Okay, cool. But I love how it's got the plug and play, but it makes pandas way better. Tranquility heals target ally for 300% of the magic damage, removes 1 debuff, and she gains self-control. You know what? I didn't know she gained self-control. So I always thought there was just the 2 of them, but now there's 3. So that is awesome. That's even better. And then her level 7 on her basic, 250 magic damage to an enemy, an additional 25% for each living panda with less than 100% health. Don't really like that second caveat. 250 is kind of a weak hit, but the rest of her kit is really, really good. She makes the pandas infinitely better, but can be used as a plug-and-play healer if you need one. You know, if you need a bounty hunter for tournaments, really, really solid. So I think she is deserved of number 50 in the game, and I think she has the potential to be better as the game progresses. 49 is Arno. Arno kind of fell down the list for me a little bit for a couple of reasons. One, people are just doing more and more damage. When he first came out, we were like, oh, he's unkillable. And he can still be a pain in the balls to get around. There's no question about it. But his kit, I don't really care for it. The more and more I play him, the more and more he annoys me. And maybe I'm wrong. You can build this guy ungodly tanky. I know that. And he can be a pain in the ass to get around. I get it. But he doesn't really fit with the goblins. Even with the major shot lead, he just doesn't seem to do it for me. Now, he's really good in raids because he has the second ability here of the Salvo of Destruction, launches 4 rockets. That's really, really big. Helps bring down that dragon scale on the dragon. So, but his passive ability sacrifices 20% of his current health if there's more than 1 goblin in the party at the start of his turn. He's supposed to be with goblins. Why is he killing himself? I hate that ability. You don't want your tanks to give up their health. I just don't like that. And applies shield to all allied goblins of 40% of the sacrificed health. I mean, in theory, it's a cool mechanic, but the more and more I play with it, goblins are so squishy. They were trying to keep them alive, but you're killing your beefiest tank to keep them alive. It doesn't make sense. I just don't like it. He applies haste to Arno. Why do you want your tank to have haste? He should just apply it to the goblin rangers. Right? His taunting mechanism, taunt for 2 turns, recovers 5% health for each living goblin in the party. Really kills his plug-and-play viability, inflicts armor decrease upon enemies with heal block, and then restores 5% turn meter for each living goblin in the party to Sergeant Pigwell. So he's not even really, like, benefiting himself, right? I mean, he's going to recover his own health, but he gains taunt. Like, you look at somebody like Kinley, taunt, removing debuffs, all this stuff. He's only inflicting armor decrease if there's a heal block. He's restoring 5% turn meter for each living goblin if Sergeant Pigwell is there. It's bad. This is why he annoys me, and this is why he's falling down my list. The only reason he's this high is because you can build him so tanky that you can get stuck behind him. This move is actually really, really good, like I said, for the dragon, but it can be super annoying, but it's at random. You know, he launches him at 4 random enemies. 160 physical damage is kind of crap, but every subsequent hit on the same target is 80% chance to inflict heal block for 2 turns. Pretty nice, but 5 enemies, only 4 rockets. The chance that you're going to hit somebody is pretty low. Then you have deals 260 physical damage to an enemy if the target is above 50% health. Half the damage penetrates the shield. While dealing damage with this ability, Arno has a 60% chance to gain an accuracy increase and apply it to all goblin rangers for 1 turn. This gets just kind of a jumbled mess. If he wasn't so beefy, I don't think he'd be this high, but that's Arno. Somebody will probably tell me I'm wrong and he's the best tank out there. Number 48 is Kagi, and Kagi was a bottom dweller, and since his mini little rework and his T7s, he's a monster. He's really good. You struggle to keep him alive. I understand that. But you put speed and damage on this guy, you pair him with Boris, you get him behind Salvador, and he is just lights out. In the early game, his AoE ability here, his second ability is Tornado. It's, in the early levels, it was like wiping almost the whole team besides the tank. Super, super good. I mean, the damage is kind of low at 240 on an AoE, but it has a 75% chance to increase allies' accuracy. Okay, I'd like to see it do more damage, but it seems like it does more damage. It just does. I don't know why, right? His His tier 8 ability on his Lashing Wind, 175, but then he's gonna go twice no matter what. So he's attacking twice all the time. So that's like a 350 basic. That's awesome. This move here, Wind Speed, is great. Restores 20% turn meter to himself and 4 allies. So you can put him with anybody. Really good for tournaments. Gains haste and applies it to 4 allies for 2 turns. You don't want to put him with somebody like a Mordoom or something like that, because you can give him to the imps. But still, I love it. Passive ability increases magic damage by 40%. That is why everything's probably so low. But that is a big number at tier 7. If Boris is in the party when the battle starts, Kegi and Boris gain a dodge increase and tenacity increase for 2 turns. I really like his overall T7s. It's one of my favorites. I think people in the late game forget about Kegi, and people in the newer game coming up are like, this guy's better than I thought he was. And I knew he got better with his T7s and all that stuff, but I didn't realize how good his little rework was for the early game players. He used to be trash. You'd get him to like level 12, and then you'd get another team going and you just drop him. It's not that way anymore. So Kegi cracking the top 50 in the game for me. So if you agree with me, you gotta let me know on this one, because I might be by myself, but I like Kegi where he's at. Sticking with the pride, we have Salvador at 47. Salvador he's a tank's tank. I say this all the time when I describe Salvador, but I just love the way he works. I just love it. But the problem is, you take him outside of that hero lead, he's so slow that it's harder to get up his taunting mechanism, right? But then you don't want to make him too fast, because then it works against his passive ability. So his passive ability, like I was talking about, increases physical armor by 35%, additional 10% for each living pride in the party. If Salvador has Steel Shell and Taunt, his speed is decreased by 40%. So, and it's 30% at tier 7. So the faster he goes, you're only decreasing it that much more. So it's like a balancing act with him. You want him to get that taunt up if you're not putting him with a hero lead. But without the hero lead, he's just not the same tank, and that's why he's still a top 50 champion to me. But without that, it's rough. But Steel Shell is just so freaking annoying. At tier 7, he gains Steel Shell and debuff immunity for 2 turns. Steel Shell decreases damage taken by 90%. He gets both those up. And then there's Renara reviving everybody. It's just so ugh. But his plug-and-play viability, like I said, is just next to none. Taunting mechanism, taunt and tenacity increase, which the tenacity increase is nice, but if you put on the tier 7 here, he gets the debuff immunity, right? So, kind of a waste to me. And here, I like the 70% chance to gain a shield equal to 15% of his health. I think 70% is a pretty solid spot for something like that on a basic. But I hope I explained Salvador enough, because that's really all I got to say about him. 46 is Bar and Rel, and Bar and Rel are sneaky champions. They're pretty survivable for a warrior, traveler. Those 2 tags, they usually have lower health than they got. They're pretty survivable. Especially when you put them on gear 12 and gear 13, they become more survivable. But I like their kit. On their passive ability, if they don't have Oink, they have a 50% chance to reduce damage taken from an enemy attack by 90%. And then they receive Oink. They lose Oink at the end of the turn. If Centurion are on the battlefield, both receive haste and a tenacity increase for 2 turns at the start of the battle. Haste actually benefits Centurion nicely, and I'll go over that when we get to Centurion. But Oinka Raging, look, it applies a damage increase to all allies. Very, very big for the half-pigs. The half-pigs have so many buffs going around, it's scary. Applies a potency increase, crit damage increase to half-pigs and half-pig minions for 2 turns. So he's got plug-and-play viability. And then again, if you see Centurion are on the battlefield, restores 35% turn meter to Bar and Rel and Centurion. Hognado, 275 to all enemies with Oink. 75% chance to inflict slow. No Oink, you're putting bleeding on. So The problem is, like, I tried him out in a bleed team because that's nice, but it doesn't land consistently, even at 75%, and you constantly have oink with him. Constantly. Because somebody's going to use an AoE, and even if it's not his turn, because you're like, oh, here comes the bleeds, they use an AoE, reduces the damage, and then you gain oink. So, that kind of sucks. But then his basic ability, 265, oink, he dazes for 2 turns. If he doesn't have oink, restores 20% turn meter. Really well built kit, sneaky damage. Bart and Rel help out not only the half pigs, but every other faction. Or race. I always do that. Number 44 is Sergeant Pigwell. Sergeant Pigwell is another one who rose up on the list for me because I always knew he could do damage, but I played around with him now and he just nukes people to the ground. Still ungodly squishy, but increases physical damage by 40% and then 10% for each living goblin in the party. So if you're running with a full goblin team, you're getting another 50%, so it's a 90% increase. Then you have, even if you're not, you're still getting 40, so you don't need a damage rune set on this guy. You could go crit damage, crit chance. It's the way you want to go on him. His Rocket Strike is one of my favorite moves in the game. 300% physical damage to 2 enemies with the lowest health. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're invisible. It doesn't matter if there's a taunt up. He's going to hit them. And the cooldown is reset instantly if he kills him. And chances are he's going to kill somebody because the second ability sets up that move. I'm not a big fan of abilities where you waste a move to get something. But this move, it's so beneficial you actually have to use it, right? He gains Super Shell, increasing damage of the next attack by 2.5 times and guaranteeing it to be a critical hit. You get this up and then you launch your Rocket Strike, forget it. This effect cannot be prevented or removed, so it can't be dispelled. Using this ability with Super Shell restores 50% turn meter. So if you use it before your cooldown and you're like, crap, it's just a good move. And then his basic, 300 physical damage to an enemy if the target is below 75% health, deals 375, calls in Arno to assist. Can be useful because I use Arno on my pig team for when I'm going against the dragon. So helpful to bring down that steel shell or steel scales or whatever it is for him. But Pigwell is just a damage beast, and I slept and underrated him for a long time, and I don't anymore. I love Sergeant Pigwell. Sticking with the goblins at 44. 44 is Instructor Goram, and I like Instructor Goram. Now, I ranked him up ahead of Pigwell because of his leadership. Right now, he's the only true leadership for the half-pigs that needs to be taken into consideration. But he also does some things, and it's not only what he does, it's what his half-pig minions do. This ability here, he summons a half-pig minion, 75% of Goram's health, and 70% of his damage. They can put on stun, they can put on daze, it can cripple the other team. If he gets a lot of them out of there, forget it. And then he calls them all into assist in one big barrage. Great in raids, love it, you know. And he applies a potency increase, which helps out the half-pigs. Super good. And then his basic ability makes Adam good. You pair those two together, some of the best synergy in the game with those two. He crits, you just put crit runes on this guy, nothing else. Crit runes with speed secondaries. Get Adam the taunt, keep it up all the time. Super beneficial. With a Murdoch lead, he can apply the taunt to Adam on an assist. So I just love the way his kit is built. I don't really care for his lead, but it's the only one we got, like I said, and that needs to be taken into consideration. So that bumps him up to number 44 on my list. He'd probably still be a top 50 character, but I wouldn't put him above like Pigwell if he didn't have that leadership. 43, Selena. Selena made a huge jump from my last tier list because they removed where she copies taunt. She is so usable now, so severely underrated. She is a phenomenal plug-and-play healer. Removes two buffs from the enemy at the end of the turn and applies it to a random allies for the same duration. Applies cheat death instead of removes taunt or invisibility. That can go onto your tank. Can go to your squishy damage dealer. So much better. Oh, if humans won, I was going to go after Selena hard on my free-to-play account. But we're not done. Amos' Mirror heals all allies by 480 of her magic damage. If allies are inflicted by debuffs, she removes, now this is tier 7, but tier 8 gets even better, removes 2 random debuffs and applies 2 opposite buffs for the same duration. And here, it's 540, and you're doing 4. That's big. That's almost nullifying the slash ability from Mordoom. But you gotta think, if you're getting an armor decrease, she's gonna flip it to an armor increase. Ability block, I forget what that goes to. I think it's buff immunity. So, excuse me. It's just so good. So well done. Her rework was amazing. Heals the target by 340 of her magic damage and an extra 25% of the target's max health. Nowhere in this kit so far have you seen just humans. So plug and play viable. She's really, really good. Deals 300% of magic damage to an enemy and inflicts tenacity down. Helping out your team, you know, a Garrett, or any team you want to put them in. Bleed team, it can help keep the bleed team alive, you know she doesn't have the bleed. Her magic damage is right around, I would think it's like 3,700 at gear 13. And then you multiply that, if you could ever get the T8, if those abilities come into the game, where you're doing 540 heal, massive. Great plug and play healer. Can't say enough about her. The rework was really good, so play Quantum if you're listening. Well done. Number 42, oldie but goodie, Friezard. You gotta love Friezard and what he does, right? I mean, mini AoE on the A2, AoE on the A3, really solid damage, has a cheat death in his passive, puts slow on his basic. I mean, 270, inflicts slow for 2 turns at tier 7. Huge for raids, huge for tournaments or the arena. Deals 260 magic damage to 3 enemies, 75% chance of inflicting an armor decrease. 75% chance on an A2. I'll take it. You know, I don't know if it would be crazy if he was 100% on that. So I'll say that's alright. Here, 260 magic damage to all enemies and decreases turn meter by 25%. AoE turn meter reduction. 260 isn't phenomenal, but that turn meter reduction just makes that move really good. Right here, Friezard survives a fatal blow, recovers 50% health and 50% turn meter. So healing himself, which is big, big, big. Any effects on him are removed, can be triggered only once. Snorri gets the same thing. Great. Just a really well-built character. T7's kept him viable within the game. Falling out of that top 25 as we're getting more and more OP kind of damage dealers. But you can plug and play him. He's a tournament beast. Does really well under the Soleus lead because he gains that counter attack where he's just flinging out the slows. If you have the T7 on there. Friezard's still holding up, and you know, when I'm doing the free-to-play series, I gotta give him props because he's unlockable and I use him everywhere. So really nice touch there as well. Finishing off the list at number 41 is Kinley, and Kinley, to me, is the best panda leadership. You get him early, he helps you out, he can be plug and played. Really, really good, right? Leadership ability, allied pandas gain 30% max health. Pandas recover 5% health for each critical hit dealt. Pandas with full health recover 5% turn meter instead. Massive. You can't plug and play as a leader, but that leadership for the pandas is phenomenal. Because if you don't have Kulai or Kului or whatever, right? 5% health for each critical hit dealt. So you have Fao or Shaolin. If he gets 7 critical hits on his 7-chef strike, 35% health coming back. But then it's buffs applied, and it's a buff heavy team. They're kind of like a toned down version of the half pigs. They got buffs flying everywhere. Almost every single panda gives some sort of buff, either to somebody else or to themselves. So just a phenomenal leadership. Passive ability is one of the best for a tank that I've seen in a hero collector. 20% health just by his turn coming back. His 5-on-1 is the only one move I don't care for, but he does remove 2 buffs. He gains 25% health back, gains taunt, and an armor increase if Kinley is the last ally remaining. This part to me is just garbage. I wish they would have done more, but it's called 5-on-1. I get it, but I hate it. The Jade Wave, 300% physical damage to an enemy, 50% chance to apply an armor increase to 3 allies for 1 turn. Now, what I would have liked to see is 100% to 1 ally, 75 to a second, and 50 to a third, or something like that, or just flat 75 for the whole group. 50% at a tier 6 is just too low for me, so hopefully when they do a tier 7 that increases. And he deals pretty crappy damage on his basic. If Kinley has more health than the target, the attack does 250 instead. And that's good because you can really stack the health on this guy, just all health runes, and let him go to town. Kinley is one of my favorite tanks. He's my favorite panda lead. And if you're watching the free-to-play series, he's going to be my boy. So there it is, my YouTube family. There is, what were we? 50 through 41. And the list continues, so let me all know what you think about the list so far. Was there anybody in there who shocked you, or who you disagree with, or who you agree with, or somebody I might have changed your mind on? Always leave those comments down below. It's great to hear from you all. With that being said, thank you for the support. Don't forget to vote. Check out the Dragon Champions official page on YouTube, so hopefully we get to see more videos like that to come. A little funny in the beginning, really good character breakdown. I like it. So that being said, see you on the next one. I'm out.